What's going on, guys? My name's Theoatrix and welcome to my updated Slayer guide. For most, Slayer is the slowest 99 in the game, and it can be a complicated skill to train. So in this guide, I'll show you exactly how to train effectively. It's a skill that is constantly evolving, and recently, Jagex introduced the Custodia Pass Slayer dungeon with the release of Valamor Part 3. Here, you can find 3 tiers of Custodian Stalkers, with the minimum Slayer requirement being 54. Jagex has also proposed a range of further improvements and adjustments to Slayer, with separate block lists for every master, as well as a range of updates benefiting the early to mid-Slayer levels. As a whole, Slayer is becoming easier, and this guide will show you everything you need to know before and after the updates. So why should you level your Slayer? Despite the low XP rates, it is an enjoyable skill for most, and it's an efficient way to train your combat stats if you're going for the max cape. This is because you're training Slayer and combat at the same time, and with the boosts of the Black Mask or Slayer helmet, you're getting increased damage and subsequently increased XP rates. Slayer is also one of the most profitable skills in the game depending on your playstyle. If you aim to complete boss tasks and manage your costs effectively, you can make hundreds of millions on your journey to 99. For Ironman, Slayer is essential for the preparation of high-level content. You unlock monsters that drop game-changing equipment, including the Abyssal Whip, the Trident of the Seas, and the Occult Necklace. You need level 69 Slayer in order to get the quest cape, and you need level 95 for the achievement diary cape. And some very important quests have a Slayer level requirement, including Desert Treasure 1, Animal Magnetism, Sins of the Father, and Monkey Madness 2. Slayer is a task-based skill, where you're assigned to kill a certain monster from one of 9 Slayer Masters. Each Slayer Master assigns monsters from their own task list, and higher level Slayer Masters give harder and longer tasks. A Slayer task consists of one type of monster, and a quantity of that monster that you're required to defeat. When you defeat an assigned monster, you receive Slayer XP equal to the monster's total hit points, and some Slayer monsters require specific gear in order to fight them, such as wearing a face mask when fighting dust devils. And once you complete a Slayer task, you will usually receive a number of Slayer points, and they can be used to get various rewards and unlocks. Overall, Slayer is a skill that is considerably faster if you have high combat stats, so I would suggest starting with at least level 70 combat, although I'll still cover some low-level gameplay further in this guide. But what if I said you could skip the low-level gameplay with a huge boost from the new legendary champion, Leminisi? She's perfect for powering through tough fights, and you can get this limited time legendary for free just by logging into Raid for 7 different days until August 20. Raid is a game with endless content, AAA graphics, and advanced PvE, and I love the fact that Raid is available on mobile and PC, which lets me access my account wherever I am. With my link, you immediately get a huge starter pack for your account, including the epic champion Tallia from the Sacred Order faction. After reaching level 15, you get another pack through my link, including the Drake epic champion and a range of other goodies. As a new player, you can also pick from one of 5 legendary champions to boost your account from the get-go, including Green Warden, Alice, Tuhanarak, Tholen, and Sun Wukong, each with their own unique promo code that you can enter. But keep in mind, you can only choose one, so choose wisely. Once you're in, come and find me under the name Theoatrix.OSRS and join my clan, which is called Theoatrix RS. So download today by scanning the QR code on the screen or clicking the link in the description, and you get a massive starter pack with a champion and a boost at level 15. These champions and boosts are only available through my link and QR code, so be sure to use my link to get the game. Thanks to Raid for sponsoring this guide. Now I'm going to briefly cover each Slayer Master so you know the benefits of each one. The first is Turael, located in Berthorpe, and this Master has 0 requirements. He is often used for point boosting or for skipping a task that you don't have the points to skip. There's Spreer, unlocked after the Porcine of Interest quest, and Spreer has the exact same task list as Turael, except with the extra task of Sour Hog. Krystilia is the other Slayer Master with 0 requirements, and this is the Wilderness Master. She is by far the best Slayer Master for points, and can also be fast Slayer XP at mid to high combat levels. Mazshana requires level 20 combat to get a task from, and this could be a decent way to understand how Slayer works, especially after the proposed changes that increase the Slayer points rewarded from him. Vanica is a level 40 combat Slayer Master, and he can offer tasks that are pretty tricky with a low combat level. So this Master, again, should only be used if you're looking to try out Slayer at a lower level. But with Jagex's proposed update, the Slayer points from Vanica are pretty decent. The next Master is Cheldar, unlocked at level 70 combat, and this one is great if you've just reached level 70. And to be able to use Cheldar, you do need to have completed the Lost City quest. The next one is Konar, unlocked at level 75 combat. This Master is decent for profit since you have a chance of getting a Brimstone key drop on her tasks. Although, in terms of getting the fastest XP rates, Konar is generally not the best. With 85 combat, you unlock a high XP Slayer Master, Neve. She generally assigns long and high XP tasks. And the final Master is Duradel, unlocked at level 100 combat and with 50 Slayer. Duradel gives the most boss tasks out of any Slayer Master, and also gives the longest Slayer tasks. He is excellent for XP, similar to Neve, but generally, if you're looking for bosses and profit, you should use Duradel, and if you're going for the fastest XP, you should go to Neve or Duradel. If you want some extra profit and variety, go to Konar. For points, Wilderness Slayer is best, although Turael point boosting is not bad either. And in the proposed Slayer update, Jagex will allow you to set block lists for each separate Slayer Master, so you can set up each Master to be tailored towards a certain play style, like for profit or for XP. As I mentioned, upon completing a Slayer task, you receive Slayer points. You don't get any Slayer points for your first 4 Slayer tasks in a row, but then on your 5th and subsequent tasks, you start receiving points. And once you hit certain task count milestones, you get a boosted amount of Slayer points for completing that task. It's 5 times the points for every 10th task, ranging up to 50 times for your 1000th task. With these points, you can use them to purchase rewards and unlocks from any Slayer Master, which can be done by right-clicking the Master and selecting Rewards. There are 4 main categories of rewards. There's Unlocks, where you can unlock new Slayer tasks, and you can also unlock Slayer items or utilities. There's Extension Rewards, which allow you to increase the number of monsters assigned to you with certain Slayer tasks. There's Purchase Rewards, where you can trade Slayer points for items, including Slayer Rings, Broad Bolts, and some storage bags. And lastly, there are Task Rewards, which allow you to skip or block a task. There are a lot of Slayer rewards, but generally the best order of unlock comes down to your training style, but in general, this is the best unlock order that most players go for. Firstly is the Bigger and Badder reward, which unlocks superior Slayer monsters, and these monsters significantly increase your Slayer XP rates, and they also give you a chance at some highly valuable drops. In Jagex's recent proposal, they're looking to reduce the Slayer point cost of Bigger and Badder, so it's not a bad idea to wait a bit until the cost is less than the current 150 points. After unlocking superiors, you should then unlock the Slayer helmet, which allows you to use the boost from the black mask on a range of other tasks that require headgear. Some players choose to unlock the Slayer helmet first, but I would recommend bigger and badder first, since you can still use the boost from the black mask without needing the Slayer helmet. With superiors and the Slayer helmet unlocked, it now becomes more open-ended about which reward you unlock next. There's Slayer ring crafting, which has a number of benefits, including easy access to Slayer areas, as well as getting a faster salve amulet. The hot stuff reward, which allows you to be assigned Tsar monsters as a task, can be great for fast XP and profit as well. You can also get a Tsar task before going for your first fire cape, which can make it easier with the black mask or Slayer helmet boost. The I Wieldy More Slayer reward actually costs 0 points, but it's best unlocked after getting at least the Slayer helmet, and this reward allows you to be assigned some high XP tasks from the Wieldy Master. And with Jagex's proposed changes, the Slug Salter and Reptile Freezer rewards will be more accessible for low-level Slayers, proposed to cost less points. And on top of those, a Slayer reward that is very important is sorting out your block lists and extensions. This all depends on your playstyle, and for example, for the fastest XP, you'd block the common tasks that you can't cannon or burst, and then you'd extend the tasks that give the fastest experience. Also, Jagex is proposing separate block lists, so this way you could set up a block list for points with one master, and a different master for profit, and another one for XP. There's also task storage, which is excellent for all playstyles. It allows you to put away a task for later and get another task, which can be an alternative to skipping your task. Task storage is proposed to cost only 500 Slayer points after the update, down from 1000. Then from here, where you go is up to you. If you want more boss tasks, you can unlock the Like a Boss Slayer reward, or if you want a different colored Slayer helmet, there's a range of different designs you can get. But before getting any of those, it's strongly recommended to have your block list and extensions in order. Now let's go through the useful unlocks that you might consider before training Slayer. And firstly, I'll talk about quests that unlock certain Slayer tasks. There's about 20 quests that unlock monsters, and some of these monsters are better than others, but I would very much recommend doing quests like Desert Treasure 1 for Dust Devils, Horror from the Deep for Dagonoths, and if you want to avoid dragon tasks altogether, you can skip completing the Dragon Slayer 1 quest, although that does restrict the late game of your account. Next, in terms of Slayer unlocks, is a very important one, and that is Enchanted Silver Bracelets. This includes the Expeditious Bracelet, which shortens your Slayer task, and the Bracelet of Slaughter, which extends your task. Your usage of these really depends on your playstyle, but for example, if you're going for the fastest XP, you can use the Expeditious Bracelet to shorten the slow tasks, and you can use the Bracelet of Slaughter to extend the fast and usually burstable tasks. Ironman can go out of their way to make these bracelets, or on a regular account, you can just buy these right off the Grand Exchange. The Dwarf Multi-Cannon is one that I've already mentioned, and this is unlocked after the Dwarf Cannon quest. Using the Multi-Cannon greatly speeds up Slayer, and is almost a must for every training style. Having the Ancient Spellbook unlocked after Desert Treasure 1 is essential for bursting your Slayer tasks, and that's how you can get some of the fastest Slayer XP rates in the game. Having Fairy Rings unlocked facilitates quick travel to hard to get to locations. And also, having an upgraded player-owned house can greatly improve your gameplay, with convenient teleports, reducing inventory clutter, and for utilities like the restoration pool or occult altar. There's also the gem bag, the herb sack, or the seed box, which are excellent for saving inventory space while training. You can also get the soul bearer, which is useful in the long run with ensouled head drops. There's also the holy wrench, which is great if you're using prayer potions, and also bringing along high alchemy to your tasks can extend your duration at a Slayer task. Aside from those items, there's 2 crafting level requirements which will improve your training. With 54 crafting and 400 Slayer points, you can make a Slayer helmet, which is a must for Slayer. This gives a damage and accuracy boost with melee. Then at the Nightmare Zone or PvP arena, you can imbue your Slayer helmet or black mask to make it work with magic and ranged as well. And with 75 crafting and 300 Slayer points, you have the ability to make Slayer rings, which are very convenient. Let's talk about armor and weaponry, and with Slayer, at the bare minimum, I would suggest having a melee combat set. At minimum, you should always be bringing a black mask or a Slayer helmet to every task, and the imbued version if you're using ranged or magic. This greatly speeds up your Slayer training. With Slayer, you need the following armor sets. So you need melee, a prayer armor set, a magic bursting set, and you can optionally have a range setup, wilderness setup, and bossing setups. For melee gear, you typically want at least a dragon scimitar, all the way up to a rapier, blade of Seldor, or the Inquisitor's mace. The Asmumten's Fang can also be used, but generally, the rapier, blade, and mace are the best for Slayer training against low defense monsters. In terms of armor, you should be prioritizing strength bonus, which could include Obsidian, Blood Moon, Bandos, Oathplate, or Torva. In terms of prayer armor, here are the best sets to use, and the best in slot is the new Sunfire Fanatic armor, which allows you to use Protect from melee for almost 10 minutes. For magic, you should only really use this setup for bursting, and the best weapons to use are the Kodai Wand, Ancient Scepter, or at minimum, you want the Ancient Staff. With magic bursting armor, at minimum, you want to use Arums, and Virtus or Ancestral are going to be your best in slot. You should also imbue your Slayer helmet or black mask. Optionally, you can have a range setup, and this is best with a Venator bow. But without the Venator bow, I would recommend just using melee on your task. In terms of a wilderness setup, you should only ever bring 3 valuable items and turn on PvP skull prevention. One of these items should be the black mask or the Slayer helmet, and taking a wilderness weapon is going to give the most damage output, although you do risk more with a wilderness weapon, so your best regular melee weapon also works. And with Slayer, certain training styles prioritize boss tasks, and for each boss, the setup varies. These setups can be very expensive, but in the long run, completing these boss tasks will bring in the most profit. So now let's get into the training styles for Slayer, and it's up to you to choose which one you want to do, and each of them have their own benefits. So there's low level, fast XP for profit, AFK Slayer, and farming points. At a low combat level, it's not always worth it to train Slayer due to reduced access to high level masters and getting high defense monsters assigned. At a very low combat level, Turiel and Spria can provide some easy tasks, but it really should only be done to understand how Slayer works, since it's not very efficient. You are better off training until a higher combat level and using one of the higher leveled Slayer masters. Although, masters like Mazshana or Vanica may become more worthwhile at a low combat level with the proposed changes, since they now will earn you more Slayer points. At mid-combat levels, around 50 to 60 combat, you could consider trying out the Wilderness Slayer Master for some semi-efficient training. This is because you can use the Wilderness weapons, which stack with the effect of the Black Mask or Slayer helmet. However, most players, including Ironman, should aim to start their Slayer journey with at least 75 combat when you unlock Kona, although level 85 is a lot better once you have Neve. You could start with level 70 combat at Cheldar, but you can expect lower XP rates here. Although, with the upcoming changes to Slayer, Jagex is making the low-leveled Slayer options more viable. I'm excited to announce that the new Slayer Gaming mousepad is now available on my merch store. This is easily one of my favorite designs yet, depicting legendary Slayer bosses. With the release of this Slayer mousepad, you have 5 days to get 15% off your order with the code SLAYER. So to purchase one of these, you can head to theoatrix.shop or click the link down in the description. Next is the fastest XP strategy, and this is what most players go for. When slaying for the fastest XP, there are some key things you should be focusing on. You should be using the enchanted silver bracelets on every Slayer task, whether you're extending or shortening a task, and these greatly improve your overall Slayer XP rate. You should be cannoning every task possible, as well as bursting or barraging every task you can. Your skip and block list should include tasks that you can't cannon and can't use bursting spells. And to also increase your overall Slayer XP rate, you should be using combat boosting potions, like super combats, and you can also use prayers like piety to increase your damage output. In terms of Slayer Masters, you should generally use Neve or Duradel for the fastest XP, since they give longer tasks with high hit point monsters. For your block list, you should aim to block the slow tasks that have a high task weighting, which is how often the master assigns that task. So here are some example block lists for getting the fastest XP rates. For the absolute fastest XP rates with Slayer, they're actually possible in the Wilderness, since the Wilderness Slayer Cave is both multi-combat and cannonable, so you can burst your tasks while using a cannon. The Venator Bow also works very well here, and it's possible to get over 100k Slayer XP per hour, which is a very high XP rate. With Slayer, there are two main ways to train profitably. You can train with Konar or with bossing with Duradel. With Konar, you sacrifice the convenience of picking your Slayer task location for the occasional Brimstone Key for extra profit. One Brimstone Key has an average loot of around 100k, which really adds up over time. You do occasionally get decent boss tasks and XP tasks, but sometimes the tasks can be quite slow. With this, you should always be using the silver bracelets. Here's an example block list for profiting from Konar, and these tasks don't bring in much profit, or they're assigned often in bad locations. Now for Boss Slayer, you do want to be using Duradel, and you want the Like a Boss Slayer reward unlocked. The reason for Duradel is that boss tasks occur more commonly than Neve, so you'll get boss tasks way more often. With this, you need plenty of decent gear to be able to do Boss Slayer, and the gear varies from boss to boss, so a bit of starting capital is required. If you're prioritizing boss tasks with Duradel, this is an example block list you can go for, and generally these are the slow tasks with no boss variants, and these also have fairly high task weightings with Duradel. Next is the AFK Slayer style, and for this, it works a bit differently. You can AFK a Slayer task in a few different ways. First is with monsters that are aggressive, and they stay aggressive for 10 minutes at a time. Second is by using a cannon, and with combat achievements completed, you can load your cannon with more cannonballs, which allows you to AFK for longer. And thirdly, you can attack a bunch of monsters in multi-way combat and let your character slowly defeat them all AFK. And the latest upgrade for AFK Slayer is the introduction of goading potions, which makes all monsters aggressive for 6 minutes. But these are quite expensive, although do provide the easiest AFK Slayer experience. For AFK training, many players choose Neve or Duradel, and here are two examples example AFK block lists depending on the Slayer Master you're using. Using prayer regeneration potions is another boost for AFK Slayer, and prioritizing your prayer armor set is also very important. You can also mix AFK Slayer with one of the other training styles, but it is difficult to make a lot of profit out of AFK Slayer. To get the most Slayer points per hour, there are two main strategies that you can follow, either Wilderness Slayer or with Turael by point boosting. With Wilderness Slayer, you get the most points per task out of any Slayer Master, and that's 25 points per task. For your 1000th Wilderness task, you get an astonishing 1,250 Slayer points for completing that task. Wilderness Slayer works off a separate task counter to the regular masters, so you can't just do regular tasks up until your 1000th and then Wilderness Slayer for the final one. You actually have to do 1000 wilderness tasks. With Wilderness Slayer, if you're solely going for points, you should be using an Expeditious Bracelet on every single task, no matter how profitable or efficient the task is. Here you can see an example block list if you're using Crystallia, solely for points. Now the safer option for fast Slayer points is Turael boosting, and this involves doing 9 tasks at Turael, then completing 1 task with Konar for the 10th task. And once again, you should camp the Expeditious Bracelet the entire time for all tasks. Generally, your block list doesn't really matter for this, although blocking Cal fights could speed up the Turael side since they can be a little slower than the other Turael tasks. You can also use a different master like Duradel for your 10th task, but Konar is going to give slightly more points. Doing Turael boosting with Duo Slayer is another decent option, where you can very quickly get through the initial 9 tasks. Now let's go over some tips and tricks for Slayer training. Firstly, if a task is too difficult and you don't have the points to skip it, you can reset your task by getting one from Turael in Berthorpe. This does reset your total task streak, so you should try to avoid doing this. But if the task is too hard and you're out of points, it's not a bad idea to use Turael. On top of that, I mentioned that you only start gaining Slayer points from your 5th task, so you should aim to complete your first 4 Slayer tasks at Turael to get them out of the way quickly to start earning points. When you're in places like the Slayer Tower or the Stronghold Slayer Cave, you need to be cautious when running past certain monsters without the proper protection. For example, Aberrant Spectres can deal a lot of damage and drain your stats if you aren't wearing a nose peg, and they are aggressive, so running past these will significantly impact your gameplay. There's a range of Slayer tasks that can be completed at certain monster variants for better profit. This includes fighting demonic gorillas on a Black Demons task or killing Vorkath on a Blue Dragons task. One thing to note is you can complete a Slayer task from reanimating creatures with ensouled heads, which lets you train your prayer while doing Slayer. You can use the NPC contact spell to talk to Slayer Masters and to get a new task. So if you have 67 magic and the Lunar Diplomacy quest completed, you can contact Masters that are far away without having to go to them. You can get Slayer tasks with a friend by doing Duo Slayer. To do this, you partner with them on an enchanted gem or Slayer helmet. Then you share the same task and the same task kill count. And to finish off this guide, I'd briefly like to give some Ironman training tips. Overall, Ironmen can follow the same training styles I showed earlier, but with a few exceptions. One of those is that Ironmen shouldn't really cannon their tasks, since it takes so long to make cannonballs. But if you're looking for something to AFK and you have the mold from the Giant's Foundry, making cannonballs is still not the worst idea. Getting the herb sack and gem bag are very beneficial on an Ironman, since while training Slayer, you'll get those drops that will improve your training for herb lore and crafting. Ironmen should aim to get at least 75 combat or 70 plus in the melee combat stats before training Slayer. Items like the Dragon Scimitar, Dragon Defender, and some strength boosting gear is almost a must before you start. And also, as an Ironman, you can't do duo Slayer, so you're on your own for your entire pathway to 99. Anyways, that was my updated level 1 to 99 Slayer guide. If you missed something, there are detailed timestamps in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more old school guides. Be sure to join my clan on Raid Shadow Legends. And for a massive head start, download the game by using my link or QR code. Thanks for watching.